Welcome to the HR Stories podcast, listener question edition, where there is a lesson in every story. Each week, the team at HR Stories podcast shares questions from our podcast audience and provides tangible, practical advice that everyone can use to get HR right. Our hosts today are management and HR consultants Chuck Simikian and John Tallheimer. What is on your mind today? Welcome to the HR Stories podcast, where there is a lesson in every story. The question and answer edition. Chuck, how are you on this wonderful, wonderful day?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I feel good. I'm not sure if I look good. I look a little tired. You know, we're recording this a little later at night, and I worked a full day at my regular job, but you know what? This is the fun job. HR Stories podcast from the team at HR Stories for another edition of our Q&A. John, I got 4 questions today from our HR Team of One community, HR Team of One community on Facebook, folks. If you've not had a chance, go check it out. It is free to join, and it is HR people supporting HR people.
Hey, you know, Chuck, I have to say, is one of the things you always tell me is that you love HR, so I don't have to.
Well, you kind of love HR, but you're more of a leadership HR person, and I'm more of an HR person. And but I tell that to many of my clients and my clients, both as a consultant and also as an HR director at the company that I work at. I say, I love HR, so you don't have to. And everyone loves that. That's very funny. I don't know if they think it's funnier than I do, but it works.
You probably thought it was funny the first time you said it, but now that you said it for 20 years, you're like, yeah. All right. I'm funny.
There you
I know
go.
I'm funny. All right. So what kind of questions do you have today? I'm excited. I haven't even looked at them. Usually you send them to me ahead of time and I get a chance to read them and think about it. But I've been busy today. Not the only one working, Chuck. I've been busy today too. Taking a nap is what I was doing.
Excellent. Well, I just sent them to you like 10 minutes before we started recording. So what do you mean you've been too busy to look at my stuff? Yeah. So John, I don't know. Do you want to read these? You want me to answer them? Do you want to try answer them? How do you want to do this?
I'll read them and then you answer them and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Okay. I like it. All right. Shoot.
Here we go. Number 1. New Jersey, the Garden State. Chuck, I was born in New Jersey. That's a little known fact.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, I was born in New Jersey. And I also went to high school in New Jersey.
Okay.
So I'm getting there. I love my New Jersey peeps. All right. So Department of One. I hired an office admin front desk receptionist who obviously is hourly. She will have occasionally drive her own car to run company errands for the CEO. And she will be text called after hours for her travel needs.
For his travel needs.
For his travel needs. I'm trying to convince him that she needs to be paid a cell phone stipend and reimbursed for mileage as a minimum per FLSA standards. I would always ask her to register her time for when she leaves to when she returns from said errands, but I'm unsure how to manage the text calls after hours. So there's a couple things here, Chuck. Let me break it down for you.
Yeah, break it down.
Number one, cell phone usage, right? And so do I need to pay for the cell phone? Do I need to reimburse her for her travel mileage? Mm-hmm. And then how do I pay her when she's doing the little 3-second text? Got it. Be on it tomorrow. Boss, don't forget you're flying to Orlando this week, right? Whatever.
Yeah. So a couple things I think we all know we've talked about many times on the HR Stories podcast. Any work done for the company, for their behalf, must be compensated for the employee, right? So if you're a salaried employee, it doesn't matter. This person, they're hourly. Yeah. So she clocks out at 5, 6 o'clock. She's home, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. She gets a message. Hey, I need you to make my reservations. I need you to do this, whatever. Traditionally, most hourly employees that I've ever worked in companies I've ever worked, we don't give cell phone reimbursements because we do not expect them to check their messages after hours. We do not expect them to answer emails. They shouldn't even have email on their phones after hours, that sort of thing. I mean, it might be me texting one of my employees saying, "Hey, can you work tomorrow? Are you available?" You know, that's different, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm doing work for the company, so I have to get paid. In this case, and this was great, a lot of the people that answered, and I'm going to stay with what the traditional answers were on the team of one, the HR team of one Facebook page. First of all, they said, look at the state you're in. Now, New Jersey, I don't know, but some states would require you, if you're requiring her to use a personal whatever for work, you may be required to reimburse her in some way. The mileage, that makes sense. I don't know what she's doing errands for the CEO, whether they're professional or personal, she should be reimbursed for the mileage. So that's an easy one. The cell phone reimbursement, some of our readers and listeners have said that they've come across this before, and what they do is they use 15-minute increments. Whether it takes the employee 5 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes, you pay them in 15-minute blocks. If it takes them 20 minutes,
paying them. Okay.
Yeah. If it takes 20 minutes, you pay them in 2 15-minute blocks. You give them 30 minutes. If it takes 22 minutes. And so that actually works out. That's an easy number to put into a time clock system. Some places let you put 15 minutes. Some you have to put 0.25 for the military time. So, I would say a department of one person, I think you're on the right track. Mileage, reimbursement, cell phone reimbursement. But even if you don't reimburse them for the cell phone, you definitely need to reimburse them for their time, and you should reimburse them for their mileage.
Yeah. Let me put a twist on this.
Twist.
Are you ready? Salary non-exempt.
Salary non-exempt. Same thing. If it's more than 40 hours.
Yeah, they just track their hours. But I think it would be like, okay, our expectation is you're gonna work up to 40 hours. You need to track that time, and maybe you do it in 15-minute increments. But then if they go over 40, then you would pay them the overtime in there. It just may be easier to be like, okay, this is what you're getting paid every week on there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Just another way to kind of look at that. But yeah, I agree. Mileage, yes. Stipend for the phone, if not giving her a company phone.
Yes. Yes. I like that idea.
Right. And so just kind of getting that in there would be positive as well. So.
Right. All right. Good answers, John.
Are you ready for question number 2?
Question 2.
All right. Again, HR department of one. I've been in my role as HR manager for 11 years for a small company with about 150 employees. You need some help. We have client accounting and corporate accounting, which all are handled separately. We recently had an accounting AP employee leave on the corporate accounting side. In the past, the position has been full-time, but there is thought that it could be part-time. With that thought, our CFO, his direct boss, would like to provide me the help I need, but with a combo hire, half HR and half AP. I'm not totally excited about this. If I were to move forward with this thought, why are some of the HR tasks I could give the employee with the idea of still being able to maintain confidentiality? I know my task, but I'm really struggling with what I could hand off.
Yeah, so I've seen this before too. So you want to, you've been approved to hire half of an HR coordinator, 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And we want to have someone from another department work 20 hours there and work 20 hours here. That's not going to work out a lot in most departments, but accounting tends to be a little more confidential, I would think. So if they have someone in accounting, I might feel a little more comfortable about that. But the question here is, I'm struggling with what I could hand off. There's not much you could hand off unless you're going to have this employee work on the, which she's concerned about confidentiality, right? So if even filing filing could be a problem. Things like that. But there are other things. When I say not much, but there's more like administrative ancillary stuff. Hey, can you make these phone calls for recruiting? Okay. So maybe I need to walk that back. There's actually a lot she could do. The recruiting is huge, right? Calling people, scheduling interviews, team member or employee activities, taking down appointments, setting up appointments. How many times is an HR team of 150 people, hey, they walk right in your office, can I talk to you? That person can be there to say, well, let me set you up for an appointment. John, there's a lot that person could do. If they could just take the recruiting off hands, now I'm changing my mind. I'm like, I think it's a great idea. It's just that you have to watch what things you give them. I would start with the non-confidential stuff first. Not that recruiting's not going to be unconfidential, but it's a little less legally bound, right? You're not seeing someone's benefit elections, someone's pay. You're not seeing someone's disciplinary records. You're just simply recruiting, making phone calls, setting up interviews, coordinating, that sort of thing. So those are the things I would hand off. Training, setting up for orientation, setting up the onboarding schedule. All right. He's like, yeah. But those are the things. What do you think, John?
Yeah. I was like, when you started down that path, I'm like, there's tons of things this person can be doing. I do
changed my mind.
I do think your assumption that this individual can't be confidential is kind of weird, right? Because I'm hiring somebody, I'm going to be hiring them into this joint role. I'm going to be like, look, in the interview process, you're going to see things. You're going to need to be very confidential. Yes. Can you do that? Tell me a situation where you kept confidential information, especially when other people were asking you for it, right? And so I don't know. Why are you assuming that person can't have their confidence?
Are you talking to me or the person here? Because
I'm talking to you.
Oh, no. I said, so her question is, she's struggling, or he or she is struggling with what they could hand off. But before that, I did say, if you're hiring someone in accounting, they're usually have some idea.
Well, all the things you gave them, because I would think benefits, I would give them all those kind of things, that payroll, all those kind of things that I would give to the accounting person, because they're going to be good with numbers and details and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just hiring a person that has good confidentiality skills. That's all. Boom. Done.
Yeah. Boom. Done. Right. Okay. Very good.
Next question. A question about bereavement and LOA. All right. Our company policy requires employees to use their PTO while on any type of leave of absence, LOA. We have an employee who is on maternity leave and has asked if she can use her 5 days of bereavement leave because her grandfather passed away. We don't have anything in our policy about this type of situation. What would you suggest? Whatever we decide will be added to the policy for any future request.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm glad she said that. Whatever we decide will be added for future requests, because that's important. The precedent is huge. Yeah. Whatever you decide to do. I don't know, John. Some leave of absence policies say you can't use any other type of leaves during this leave, but it depends on how big your company is, how often these things happen. A good employee relations thing might be to say, you know what, if they're using PTO right now while they're on a leave of absence, I'd say, yeah, let them use the bereavement leave. I've done that before, where someone was taking PTO, a week off, and they had a situation happen. They had a death in the family, and they said, look, I don't want to use my last 2 days of PTO. I'm still going to be off. I'd like to change that to bereavement leave, and we allow that.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I think this is a little different. I think she's on maternity leave, so she's probably going to be out for a long period of time. She used the 5 PTO days, and now she's requesting to use another 5 PTO days because her grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
And so if that's your policy, I would be fine with that. I'd be like, all right, well, that's our policy. We allow people to take time off, 5 days for that. I would put that in there, right? And so then again, I would just make sure that we're documenting that. We do what we ever do Again, typically bereavement policies, like we need to see some kind of notice. Some companies do that, right? We need to see some kind of notice that actually happened. I just would be consistent with that.
Yeah. And you know what? I got to tell you, in all my years, bereavement policies are not ones that are taken advantage of. And when they're needed, they're needed. And I have a lot of grace in giving them. So do it. Make the employee relations decision. That's positive here.
Okay, that's good. Fantastic. All right. Last question, Chuck. This is a tough one. Let's see if you can answer it. It's a termination question. We're talking about termination today. Employee was told that their performance is not up to par in July. And then they requested a personal leave of absence, not covered by any laws, so not job protected, to start in September for 3 months, and the employer improved that. Supervisor now wants to terminate an employee while they're still out. Would you go ahead or advise supervisor to give the employee one more chance to improve, put them on a personal improvement plan? This is only a 2-day per week role. Also, the time in July was one time the employee had been told about the performance. This position would not be filled again.
Well, okay. So breaking this down, it's a leave of absence. It's not anything to do with the law. Who knows what type of leave of absence it is. The person is not doing that great. I would just eliminate the position. We're not going to fill it again.
Yeah.
So why keep prolonging this situation? And I think if they're not going to fill it again, and even if they do decide to fill it again 6 months or a year from now, they can go from there. But
yeah,
I would say just do it.
Yeah, my question is, it's July, they're not up to par. What are you doing to get their performance up July and August? In the meantime, before they go out in September, like there should be a discussion like, hey, you're right. There should have been a performance improvement plan put in place in July. Then if they come and say, well, I want to take a leave of absence in September, then I would like, all right, well, that would put it on pause. And then when you come back, they would have done that, right? But I do think I think what you said makes perfect sense, Chuck. I think that's what I would do too.
Yeah, I can tell you what probably happened. The manager's like, oh, thank goodness they just want to go away for a couple of months. And we don't have to do anything. We don't have to get blah, blah, blah. And they probably just tried to sweep it under the rug, hoping the person didn't come back. And then when they were gone, they were like, you know what? We don't really need this position anymore. Let's just get rid of it. Can we get rid of it and get rid of that person? And that's exactly what happened. I've seen it live in person. In my 30 plus years.
I agree. I just get frustrated with managers that don't deal well with conflict. That's all.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to sign off, but you sign off. You do a better job on signing these off.
Sign off, everyone. Everyone get their checkbooks out. Sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, you've been listening to the HR Stories podcast, where there is a lesson in every question and answer. Thank you for listening so much. Don't forget to check out the team at hrstories.com. Check out our digital download book, The Ultimate Guide to HR, Checklist Edition. And also, please keep your questions coming. Connect with us on Facebook and make sure that you're reaching out. Let us know any questions you have. We'll do our best to answer them in a timely fashion. Again, thank you for listening.
And thank you, John.
You're welcome, Chuck. Thank you for listening to the HR Stories podcast. The material presented in this podcast is for informational purposes only. Chuck and John always recommend using an employment lawyer or HR consultant to handle any legal concerns or HR issues. We do our best to double check sources and make sure the information we are providing is accurate. We may eliminate or embellish without changing the basic narrative to make the story easier to understand. In certain circumstances, we may change identifying information to protect the innocent. The HR Stories broadcast is brought to you by the team at HR Stories. The team at HR Stories is designed to help anyone with HR responsibilities be better at managing the employee experience. To engage with us, go to the hrstoriesteam.com and learn more about how the team at HR Stories can support your business or nonprofit. Thank you for listening to the HR Stories podcast, where there is a lesson in every story.